You might have heard metal clay artists talking about a humidor, which is something that they use while they're working with the clay. What it is it's just a temporary place to put your clay while you're working to stop it drying out. So if you think about it, when you're rolling your clay out and you've got all those little offcuts, that you've taken away, rather than putting them back into the packet, which takes time, and by the way, while you're doing that, the piece you're working on is drying out. What we do instead is we just pop the excess bits of clay under this humidor, and that keeps that from drying out whilst we can still carry on working. And then once we finish working on our piece, we can then go back to those offcuts and we can put them away properly. So that's it. It's just a little trick just to keep your clay in good working condition until you're either ready to use it again or put it away. So this is it. It's all very high tech. So this is basically a sauce pot, and so I probably got this in a takeaway, I expect. Probably came with some sauce. It's 50ml or 2 ounces is the size of it. And what we're going to do is squirt some water there, and then literally the way that you use it is you just turn it over some clay. So let me show you what I mean. So here's my spritzer. The other thing you can do is just dampen your finger, and you can rub water in the surface if you haven't got a spritzer, but I do. So this is great. So I'm going to do 3 to 4 pumps. So let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my water, and you can see it there in the bottom of the pot. And I'm just going to make sure that I just run it all the way around. What I don't want is I don't want the water dripping onto the clay. So I think that that'll be okay. And then I'm just going to take my clay. So literally there's my clay, there's my humidor. That's it. And that's all you would do. So you would leave the clay under there until you're ready to come back to it and either carry on working with it or put it away. Now, these are really effective. Before now I've forgotten all about it and I've gone away, and a couple of days later I've come back and my clay is still perfect and ready to go. So they really work well. And the main thing is just to make sure that there's, a sill. So if you're using a container, you don't want any uneven edges. That needs to be straight and needs to be in contact with the work surface. And then the other thing that I would say is in terms of where you put it. I mean, here I put it right in the middle of my work mat because I'm showing you this in particular. But if I was working on a piece at the same time, then what I would do is put it off to one side so that it's just sort of there within reach, but not getting in the way of what I'm doing. So that's it in its simplest form. If you don't have one of these pots, another thing that you can do is use the lid of your barn. So here, literally these lids are great. Now the only thing with this one is it does have a foam lining. So with this, I might take that out and just leave the metal. But to be honest, that is fine. You just don't want to put too much water on because it'll slide. So again, I would put some water, and then basically you can put that over instead, and you just got to make sure it hits the ground. Now my clay is a bit too big. There you go. It does now. Okay, so that could work as well. So it doesn't need to be fancy. You don't need to spend a lot of money on these. Use something that's around the house. All I would say is just make sure this pot isn't too large, because you want to create this little environment that's nice and humid and is looking after your clay.